This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
This show is brought to you by Pet King Brands, the makers of Zymox and Oratine.
It's Oh Behave with Arden Moore, the show that teaches you how to have harmony in the household with your pets. Join Arden as she travels coast to coast to help millions better understand why cats and dogs do what they do. Get the latest scoop on famous faces, their perfectly pampered pets, and who's walking who in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails, garner great pet tips, and have a doggone fur-flying fun time. So get ready for the pause and applause as we unleash your Oh Behave host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Insurance. There, I said it. You need it. I need it. We all need it. Have you ever noticed that some of the most clever, funny commercials on TV come from insurance companies? Now, there's that lovable Flo from Progressive, the annoying Mayhem guy from Allstate, and even a talking lizard from Geico. Our special guest today is probably the top dog when it comes to providing insurance protection for people in the pet industry and help people who have pets. He has quietly and effectively given peace of mind for more than 8,000 pet service providers in the nation. And he's also a pretty great guy. So please give pause and applause to the Vice President of the Business Insurers of the Carolinas and my friend, David Pearsall. Hey, David, welcome to the show.
Hey, Arden. Wow, that was a great welcome. I appreciate that.
You're not going to talk like the Geico or anything, right? Or the Mayhem guy or anything?
Oh, I'm afraid that's not in my repertoire.
What is in his repertoire, though, listeners, is David is going to share with us today some bizarre, surprising, and just plain weird pet insurance claims and give us a little insight into why we need insurance. More about this after we pay for the show by taking this commercial break. So sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a pause. 4 furry ones, actually. Sit and stay. Oh Behave will be right back.
Hey, pet pals, Arden Moore here. Is your dog or cat prone to ear infections? Does your pet resist having his ears cleaned when they're inflamed or irritated? Are you also concerned about the overuse of antibiotics? Help is here. Zymox ear care products offer soothing relief, and you'll love this part. They don't require the ear to be cleaned before you apply the drops. It's just as easy as fill, rub, and done. That means less touching of those sensitive ears to help create a soothing, fear-free experience. And you only apply once a day. Here's another perk. Zymox, that's Z-Y-M-O-X, gets its effectiveness from enzymes, not antibiotics. You'll find these veterinary-recommended products through your veterinarian, most pet specialty retailers, and online. To learn more, go to Zymox.com. That's Z-Y-M-O-X. Pause up.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Oh Behave is back with more tail-wagging ways to achieve harmony in the household with your pets. Now back to your fetching host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Our special guest today is David Pearsall. His official title is Vice President of the Business Insurers of the Carolinas, based in Chapel Hill. But today, we're going to find out much more about him and why he travels all over the country educating pet professionals about the need to be insured and have the right coverage. Now, I want to welcome David, and I got to say right up front, David, I know I owe you a drink. Now, listeners, the last time David and I got together was about a month ago. We were both speakers at the Pet Sitters Conference near San Antonio. I had hoped to do this podcast with him there, but I was fighting allergies. I just realized I'm allergic to mountain cedar. Welcome to Texas. And my voice sounded like I was a raspy, out-of-tune Stevie Nicks. So my voice is back. And we're finally connected, David, and I'm actually toasting you with my virtual old fashion. Cheers.
Cheers.
What's your virtual drink right now?
Right now, it's high powered coffee.
Oh, he's doing the glug glug. But if you had a virtual drink, what would that be?
Oh, probably a bourbon and water.
Okay. Do you like Blanton's?
Yeah, Blanton's is good.
Okay, that has the horsey on it. See how good I am? And people are listening going, we're talking about virtual booze? No. Let's get started. I guess it's safe to say, David, that insurance is in your blood. I mean, tell us a little bit about your father, Phil, and I guess your brother, Keith.
Yeah, so, you could say I actually grew up in insurance. Started with the family business. My father was actually an underwriter for Fireman's Fund back in the 60s before he went out and started an insurance agency about 1980. And what he did was he purchased a number of small insurance agencies and formed what we know today as Business Insurers of the Carolinas.
Okay.
And so he actually retired in 2004 after almost 40 years in the business.
Nice. And
I do have an older brother, Keith, and Keith has his own niches that he does. So we do petroleum and pets in our office.
You do. Well, there's a thing about oil and water, but I've never heard about petroleum and pets. So what's that? So my brother started out in 1989. He came in straight from college, and he started working with fuel oil dealers and writing insurance for that because that was one of the niches they picked up. And then in 1992, we had a gentleman that my father met who approached us regarding an association for pet sitters. At that time, there was no one correctly writing pet sitters in the nation. Wow.
And then I joined the agency in 1995, and that gentleman walked away, and we kept working with pet sitters and growing our business. And in 2001, we were invited by several dog training associations, and so we had pet sitters and dog trainers, and we started just working with more and more associations. And today we work with I think 10 national associations to provide customer insurance for their members. And then we also do other pet service providers such as boarding facilities, grooming shops, pet stores, veterinarians, you name it. So we do all things pet. It's been a wonderful career for me. I've been doing this for 25 years now. And it's also been very interesting to see the types of claims and the things that happen.
Well, we're going to get into that in a little bit, but let's talk about what kind of conversation did you have around the dinner table with your dad and your brother? I mean, instead of talking about, baseball or football, I mean, were you talking, hey, did you hear about the liability claim with this guy? Or, I mean, was it?
That's a great question. The funny thing is, my father was a hard-nosed guy, and so my brother and I started cleaning the insurance offices when I was 11 and he was 14. And so we really started from the very ground up. And so we cleaned the offices every weekend. And, we talked about insurance, and I'd hear my dad talking about it. And what I would say? I'd say, Dad, I'm never working for you. I never wanted to do insurance. And in fact, after college, I majored in resort management and travel and tourism in college. And so I moved out to California and worked at the resort at Squaw Creek in Lake Tahoe. And then I moved to Sun Valley, Idaho, and worked there. And I was basically, skiing and enjoying life and working for these resorts. But I also saw that there was no mobility because everybody who had the mid-level management jobs, nobody wanted to leave those jobs because they were in these beautiful places.
Yeah.
And then I blew out my knee skiing. And
oh, no.
Imagine me with I didn't have enough insurance, Arden. So I ended up I had a large out-of-pocket deductible, and my father wasn't going to give me anything, so he loaned me the $5,000 for the out-of-pocket deductible, because I was living basically paycheck to paycheck in Sun Valley. And I had 3 other guys living in a 1-bedroom apartment, at age 25. So at that point, I decided, well, maybe I should go home and give this insurance thing a try. And, hey, it worked out. It really has worked out.
Well, I think your dad taught you a good lesson, didn't he? Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't I just see you on Facebook? Weren't you back skiing or something? What was your trip?
Yeah, so after the Texas Pet Sitter Conference, I've got dozens and dozens. I went to several different schools growing up. So my parents moved a bunch growing up. So I went to 2 or 3 different public schools, and then I went to a private school to end my high school. So I've got probably about 30 really good, close high school friends, even more so than my college friends. A lot of people get to know their college people and keep up with them.
Yeah.
But I keep up with all my high school guys. So usually once a year, we'll take a ski trip, or we'll go down to New Orleans, or we'll go somewhere fun and spend about a week together. And so that's what we did. We ended up going to Breckenridge and going for a few days, about 5 days after the Texas Pet Sitter Conference. And so, yeah, so it was a great time, and get to catch up with some guys. And, you know, some of them live in different places, so they're not here in local. So I get to meet up with these guys, you know, once a year. And they could be from California and Idaho, some of the friends that I, you know, have known for years and years that just, they live and work elsewhere, but it's fun to get together every once in a while.
Yeah, and your timing is good because a month later, I don't think you guys, now with the wonderful coronavirus, this would have happened.
Oh, yeah, and, you know, I've been telling folks because, you know, I flew into Houston to get to San Antonio. Then I flew to Dallas. Then I flew to Denver. Then I flew to Chicago. Then I flew home to Raleigh-Durham. And I was thinking, well, only 5 different airports, you know, but I'm perfectly healthy, and even though there were people with masks on their faces on several of the flights, but, you know, everything's good.
You do. Now, I know this is going to impact you, so we're going to be current, but on an average year, month, whatever you want to say it, you speak at a lot of conferences and you travel. Before the COVID-19, what kind of average month or year was it like for you with a suitcase in hand?
Oh, wow, it's a great question. Typically I would do, in the last maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I would do maybe 4 to 5 conferences a year. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we've started doing a lot more, and now we do about 10 to 12 a year, mainly in the fall, usually about 3 or 4, and in the spring time, like the one we were just at in Texas. And then I usually do about 6 to 8 in the fall. So basically from September through mid-November, you won't find me at home. I'm pretty much on the road. But, you know, it's a great, you know, I have great friends like yourself that I come in contact with at these conferences. And I have vendors that I've known for years, and executive directors of associations that we hang out with. And, you know, it's just been a lot of fun. That's why I really enjoy my career. And we all talk dog, and we all talk pet. And so, you know, that's something we all have in common. And I think that brings us all together. I
think so, too. And speaking of the woof factor, tell us a little bit about your dog. And I guess you have, because you have extended dogs. Can you tell me about them? That's
right. Yeah. So, unfortunately, my ex-wife and I didn't make it. We had 12 great years together, and then we ended our marriage in 2017. And at the time, we had 3 dogs. And so one of them was Lego. He's my current dog, who I got in the separation.
Okay.
And he's a lab, and yes, Lego is named after Legos, but by my children.
Okay.
I've got 3 sons, which are ages 9 to 14.
You better put their name. You better shout their names out. They're going to be tuning in. Come on, Dad.
Yeah. So first, I'll just congratulate Sawyer because he just turned 13 yesterday.
Yay! Happy birthday, Sawyer.
And then we had Wood. He's 14 going on 15, typical teenager. And then we have Samson, or Sam for short. And Sam is just a bundle of joy. He loves to get out and play. And all 3 of them love the dogs that we have in our lives. And
is Sam 9?
Sam is 9. That's
okay.
right.
Okay.
And then we have Gypsy River was a Chesapeake Bay Retriever that my ex kept at separation. And so I get to go see her from time to time. She's a big girl. She loves to play. She will just go and go and go. If you have a Kong or another toy, she will just chase it all day long. And then they just recently, my ex just got a French bulldog named Arlo, and it's the cutest little thing. And I just got to see him for the first time 2 days ago when we celebrated Sawyer's birthday. And he is just the cutest little thing ever. And I was worried that Gypsy,
or is he a pup? Or
yeah, it's a puppy that's only 3 months old that was, peeing on the sofa while I was there.
You go, Arlo. You go, Arlo.
And so I was worried that Gypsy might get a hold of Arlo, but it's funny, they became fast friends. And Gypsy just kind of looks at him like, who is this little newcomer? And she seems to love him, which is great.
Oh, you never know where the mama comes out in a dog or a person. I recently adopted a kitten named Rusty from Samantha Martin. You know, she does the amazing Acrocat show all over the country. And I wasn't sure how Casey, you've met Casey, my orange tabby, at conferences. And at first Casey did that, who the hell are you? And I'm like, all right, boys. And no fighting, just, I don't really know you. And now, right now, as I'm doing this show in my backyard office, appropriately called Ard's Den, Casey and Mr. Rusty are basically sharing the window ledge comforter right next to me, and they were butt to butt.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
He's adopted him as his little kid brother. So that's good. So it's nice because you're not only in the insurance business, but you know that anything can happen anytime when it comes to our pets, right? And you could have a well-behaved pet. You could have a mayhem pet like the guy from Allstate. But can happen when you least expect it, right?
That's correct. You know, it's amazing to me that sometimes I think I'll never see something different because I think I've seen it all. And it seems like every year I get at least one claim that just blows me away. It takes the cake.
Well, what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to gobble up that cake, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with David Pearsall, and he's with the Business Insurers of the Carolinas. He's a pretty nice guy, too. So everybody sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. All Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages.
Hey, everybody, it's Arden Moore here. You know how every house you go into has a certain smell? I've got a friend whose house always smells like potpourri. I could be blindfolded and know it's her house. But there is one thing your house never needs to smell like: the litter box. And for that, I found Arm & Hammer Clump and Seal. It seals and destroys odors on contact for a 7-day odor-free home. Guaranteed. Don't let your house smell like a litter box. Get Arm & Hammer Clump and Seal. Arm & Hammer. More power to you. Hey, pet pals. Arden Moore here to unleash some great health advice. It's time to be down in the mouth for the benefit of your dog and cat. Unleashing good oral care is one of the best ways to show love for your pet. Do you find brushing your pet's teeth challenging? Here is a terrific solution. Treat your dog to Oratine Brushless Oral Care. Oratine makes caring for your pet's oral health super easy. The difference is the enzymes. The advanced enzyme technology in Oratine works to freshen the breath. It eliminates bacteria, fungus, and yeast. Yuck. They also reduce plaque biofilm from accumulating on the teeth. And guess what? None of these products require actual brushing. Woohoo! You can choose from these 3 products. 1, a water additive that gives your pet the benefits of oral care with every lap of water. 2, a breath freshening spray with a gentle mister. Or 3, a brushless toothpaste gel you can apply with your finger. If your pet tolerates brushing, hey, you can always brush too. To learn more, visit Zymox.com, ZYMOX.com, and look under the oral care product line. Do it today.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Hi, this is Brandon McMillan, the host of Lucky Dog, and I invite you to listen to Oh Behave with Arden Moore on Pet Life Radio.
We're back from the lot. Just checked the paper and we had a record showing at the box. The letterbox, that is. Now back to Oh Behave. Here's Arden.
Welcome back to the O Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Our special guest today is David Pearsall. He is the Vice President of the Business Insurers of the Carolinas. I think I've known him for about maybe 10 years. We run into each other at conferences. I also am the editor of one of the pet sitters national publications. It's called the National Association for Professional Pet Sitters, NAPS. And every issue, this man turns in his column first, I'm telling you folks, this guy, and it's full of crazy, strange but true claims. So, David, people are listening and waiting. What I'd like to do is let's highlight, first of all, just briefly say, why in God's name should you not have a business and not be insured? I'm insured by you. So with my Pet First Aid classes and things like that. But it's kind of like walking without a net on a high wire, right?
That's correct. I mean, it just about, if you're in business today, everyone should carry a general liability policy at the minimum, just because it protects you against bodily injury or property damage to a third party. And you may walk around saying, well, there's no way I'm going to injure anybody. But, the reality is that claims happen every day in this world. And unfortunately, the society is getting more litigious as we speak. And every day we see lawsuits, and little things that you would never imagine can turn into big things. And if nothing else, insurance provides you with defense. So even if you aren't negligent, but you may have to go to court and prove that.
Right.
And that costs money. So, insurance can cost you a lot less and be there for you if you have a, instance that could really hurt you in your pocketbook.
Well, I know we live in the USA. You sue anybody, right? USA, USA.
That's a good one. I will be using that in the future.
You can use it. I got it from somebody else, so it's not mine, but go for it, man. So, all right, guys, this is part of the show that I'm going to have a little fun with. It's sad but true. Anybody can sue anybody for anything, and you'll be kind of stunned by some of the cases that David is about to share. So, with a little drum roll, David, take it away. Give me a claim. Let's have some fun with this.
Okay, so here's one that really blew my mind that happened maybe 3 or 4 years ago. We had a gentleman who had made a homemade harness, and he was walking down the sidewalk with his dog. And we had a pet sitter who was at the client's home and walks out with the client's dog, and the dog is off leash. It goes all the way up to the sidewalk, but it does not interact with, it's just barking. Mm-hmm. The gentleman with the homemade harness, his own dog pulls him to the ground, and he separates his shoulder. And long story short, pet sitter did nothing wrong. They just walked out the house with the dog. The dog never left their own yard, but it got close enough that this guy ended up getting almost $250,000 because he claimed that there was yes, this was in the state of Pennsylvania. And, and I don't even think of Pennsylvania as a super litigious state, but it was unbelievable to me. And again, it's all the facts behind it. Apparently this other dog instigated the fact and the way the jury saw it, and that's how it turned out. And it was
really,
it blew my mind. And those types of things happen. And we've had other ones where we had a lady in Florida who was taking care of a bull mastiff. Mm-hmm. And she was told to put a choke collar on the bull mastiff, and she walks out without the choke collar, which in today's terms would be gross negligence. Mm-hmm. So what happened was a person came out of their apartment with a Yorkie, and they walk right out, and the bull mastiff attacks. The pet sitter is, I think, all of like 90 pounds, and the bull mastiff was like 150 or 160 pounds.
Wow.
And so what happened was the guy who's had the little Yorkie gets in between the two, and he gets pulled down. The dog, unfortunately, passes, and this guy has a retinal detachment. That settlement was for over $400,000, I believe. So, yeah. So
well,
those are just a couple of... Yeah.
The retinal detachment and the loss of the little pup would have been worth more than the stupid idiot that got pulled by his own dog. Right?
Oh, yeah, it definitely was.
Does it ever smack you in the head about what gets the big amounts and some of that should be big amounts don't happen?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Well, so here's another one to throw out. This one just settled recently. So we had a pet sitter or a dog walker that came around, and she was walking in her neighborhood with one of her client's dogs on a leash, and this gentleman who was 76 years old came outside and just to say hello to that dog, and he had his dog, and his dog was off leash.
Oh, jeez.
So apparently the dog started playing, and the leash got wrapped around the older man, and he fell and hit his head. So this claim happened back in 2014, I believe, but it just settled just in the last month. Okay. And so when the gentleman went to a nursing facility, and he was getting better, and so he was recovering, and his brain was getting better, and he was about to be released, and he falls in the nursing home and hits his head again. And now he has a brain injury that he will never be released from the nursing home. So basically, he was brain dead. Okay. And because the first claim happened due to the dog walker with the leash, they say that the second claim would never have occurred. So they went back on us, the insurance company that we work with, to cover both, basically the gentleman's injuries. And that one was close to $500,000 as well.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was a terrible freak accident. And the gentleman was, I think he had good intentions. He came out to play with this dog. And that's a great example of what can happen. I mean, you're just walking a dog on a leash. You're saying hello to a neighbor. And the next thing you know, this guy falls down. I mean, it wasn't intentional. It was a complete accident. And that goes to show you what can happen. And, then it's sad that the nursing home actually made a mistake because they weren't, taking care of him properly. But that still got attributed to the initial loss because he never would have been in the nursing home had he not had that first fall.
Wow. Now, you've mentioned, too, for people that own pet businesses, whether it's boarding, grooming, pet sitting, whatever, it's so important because even though they may be independent contractors or employees, you could be liable if something happens to them, right?
That's correct, especially if they're working on behalf of your business. And if there was a new law that just came out in California, and it's already occurred in several other states like Virginia and New Jersey, where they are no longer recognizing independent contractors if you're doing the same type of work as the parent business. So if you're a pet sitter or a boarding facility and these people are assisting you in your pet sitting, dog walking, or in the boarding facility, you can call them independent contractors and pay them 1099s, but that's a federal law. But workers' comp is a state law. And so you don't realize that, just because you get a general attorney who says, oh, you don't need it, they're 1099, don't believe the hype, because state law and workers' comp law is a separate type of law, and you could run into problems, especially if they get hurt on the job, or, if they're doing any work for you and, a liability claim arises out of that, because in a lawsuit, everybody gets sued.
Yep.
So that's the problem.
Now, what about with pets? I know pets are considered, quote, property, but we'll go back to wacky, but let's go to a little sad. If something happens where a beloved pet gets killed by a situation, whether it's another dog or hit by a car, by negligence or whatever, for us, with your dogs and mine and my cats, I can't even put a price tag on them. They're priceless. But what's the deal? How does that factor in because they're property?
Good question. So, one thing we do under our association policies is we cover the pets regardless of fault. And so that's up to the limit that you choose. And we do that because we believe in the pets. We want them to be taken care of. My dog Lego tore both his ACLs this summer.
Oh, no. Really?
And so, yes, one in June, and then he was about to go for his 8-week checkup, and he chased a squirrel from the top of my porch. I thought he had re-injured the same one. We go back to the surgeon, the vet, and he says, I'm sorry, he didn't re-injure the first one. That one seems fine. It looks like he's torn the second one. And, I was told that there's about a 70% chance if you tear one, you'll tear the other.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so that said, the vet bills, as you can imagine, are pretty expensive. We paid under our policy up to $14,000 for the same type of surgery in different places where a dog tears its ACL or breaks a leg. So those vet bills can get really expensive. And so the key is that vet medical is covered under the policies. Now, if it's a death, unfortunately, under a general liability policy, it's an actual cash value settlement. So what people look at it, and I hate to even have to say this and bring this up, but since pets are considered property, it's just like if you bought a couch that's now 10 years old, they're going to depreciate for your age, and they're going to give you the value of that pet if it passes away.
Oh,
and then one thing that we'll do, though, they do give a sub-limit for emotional distress. So, they'll offer some of that as well under the policy. So you do get a little bit extra money, but unfortunately, property under any general liability policy. So even if you were a restaurant or if you were a contractor and going into somebody's house and you damage their property, general liability is never going to pay replacement costs. That's only under your homeowner's policy or your property policies. General liability is always going to pay actual cash value, which is replacement cost minus depreciation.
So should I hold Casey and Kona's ears now because they're older and they're not worth as much?
Don't tell them. Yeah, hold their ears, Arden.
Uncle David said you're not worth as much as you were when you were a puppy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, they're worth more, in my opinion. So I think we agree with that logic. But unfortunately, insurance is insurance. Sometimes it rubs me the wrong way, and I've been doing it for 25 years.
So what do you do when you're on an airplane? I've always wanted to ask people that either work at funeral homes or insurance, and people ask you what you do, and you say you sell insurance. Do they stop talking to you in the row?
Usually what I have to do is I bring up the pet factor if I want to keep the conversation going. Otherwise, I can just go ahead, they'll turn around and start reading their book.
You don't take it personal, right?
No, I never have. I know what I'm in, and it's stereotypical, so I get it. I know how people think. I'm not a big fan of attorneys or insurance people myself, but great that I found this niche in this industry, because otherwise I don't know what.
You're bringing humanity into the insurance business, and you always have, and that's one trait I've always admired about you, David.
Well, thank you, Arden. I appreciate that.
So let's talk about a couple more fun claims. We have a little bit of time left. So do you have a couple more to share? Any bizarre ones?
Yeah, let me tell you about some of the ones that have happened with pets, because those are the darndest claims, So we've had pets who go out, as you imagine, if it's summertime, and they are going and getting, they get into things and they're playing. And we have people who take walks up in the mountains and things. And then we've had people just stick the pets right back into their houses, and the next thing you know, there's mud or tar all over the house. That's a property damage claim that you didn't even think about, so you've got to make sure you wash those paws when you do that type of thing.
Okay.
And then one of the claims we see quite a bit is the medication claim. We had one earlier this year that someone gave 10 times the amount of medication to the cat that they should have. And, they told the vet to do everything to save it. Unfortunately, they didn't pay attention to what their care, custody, or control limit was, and the vet rang up over $20,000 worth of charges.
Oh, my gosh.
Because a lot of people don't read the fine print. That's why I'm here, tried to educate people, because they think they have $1 million for everything, and that's not necessarily the case.
Oh, good point.
So they need to make sure that whether you're working with me or working with another agent, that you read your policy, at least review your insurance annually, just to make sure you understand the fine print, because there is a lot of fine print in every insurance policy. I have a doozy of a claim if it's not too bad for your audience. So,
my show is called Oh Behave. It's been on the air 13 years, and so I think we're okay. Go for it.
Okay, well, these people need to learn to behave. So basically, we had some folks up in New York, and they had a little party, and they invited several of their friends, and they were doing hardcore drugs, from crack cocaine to heroin, in the client's home.
Oh.
It just so happened that this lady, who was an attorney, had nanny cams all over her house, and she was out in Vail skiing, and she's watching all this go on in her home.
Was she renting this out or something?
No, she was on vacation at Vail. These people, there was one guy who was supposed to be the pet sitter who happened to invite several of his friends.
Oh, so it was the pet sitter who did the part. I got you. Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And everything was on camera. And she's a litigating attorney in the state of New York. So she calls up the adjuster, and the adjuster called me and said, David, but she said she just wants $25,000. I think we should sell this quickly. So she got $25,000 for the cleanup, for the emotional distress, for everything that was there, because they were doing all kinds of things, all over furniture and partying, and there was needles. My gosh. So yeah. If you're a pet sitter,
can you imagine what that light would show? Oh
my God! But like you said, behave. These folks need to behave. I've seen this happen many times where people bring their girlfriends or boyfriends, and they think that their house is theirs. It's not theirs. You're there to take care of someone's pet, not to live it up.
Well, is there any final parting words of advice you'd like to give? And in this crazy time we live in now with this virus, most of us are being homebound and all, but what would be something you could share to keep our sanity?
Yeah, hang in there. And we're in the same predicament, and I've been sharing this with my clients because I've had so many calls over the last couple of weeks regarding business income and loss of income due to this virus. And unfortunately, for most pet businesses and most all businesses, there's an exclusion for virus and bacteria on most policies that are going to negate any coverage for business income.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and business income is a property coverage, and so typically for business income to even pay out, you need direct damage such as a hurricane or a tornado or a fire to your property, and for that to pay out. And then there's some coverage for civil authority. So if the government says we're going to shut down your restaurant Sometimes there's coverage for that, but the problem is they all go back to the virus exclusion. So 99% of the businesses out there, there may be some that are very, very large that may have some those exclusions removed. But for the pet businesses, there is no business income, and there's typically no workers' comp coverage either. That's the second question we get a lot is that, what if I go to someone who's in quarantine and I catch the virus?
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just like the flu. It's just a virus, and it's not like a coal miner who has to go in and to the coal mine every day who gets black lung disease. That's an occupational illness. But if you have a choice to go to someone's home if they're in quarantine. Now, if you worked at a hospital and you have to be around people with the coronavirus, COVID-19 all day long, that possibly could be covered by workers' comp because then that would be an occupational disease. But again, for the pet sitters and dog trainers and those going into people's homes, I just want you to exercise as much caution as you can. Think about other things you can do maybe to generate revenue, such as a pet taxi service if people who can't get out but they need to take their dogs to the vet. Things like that, or, doing some other things. Maybe you run to the store and get them some food, other things to try to generate revenue, because I know it's going to be a tough time. I'm, personally very concerned for so many clients because I practice insuring the small business person and kind of love what I do. And those small business people may not make a lot of money, and sometimes they do this on a part-time basis. And I'm really, really concerned with what's going on, and I'm praying that it doesn't last too long so that we can get through it.
Well, I really appreciate that bit of advice, David. Everybody, we've been speaking with David Pearsall. He is the Vice President for the Business Insurers of the Carolinas. He's a pretty good guy. You can tell from what he's been saying. He's got a lot of compassion. He loves pets. He wants people in small businesses to succeed. After the show, we want you to dash over to business-insurers.com, and you can find out a little bit more about him. But he's on Facebook and other things. You'll see him skiing and having fun with his 3 sons. I really am so glad we got to have a time to have you on the show, David.
Oh, Arden, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I really, you know how much I love you. So, I'm going to take you up from that drink the next time we see each other.
That is a deal. And Kona and Casey, my pet safety dog and cat who know you and love you, also say, we hope you have a possum day. How's that?
That sounds great. You do the same, and I'll tell Lego to be wishing your pets well.
All right. And everybody at this time, I also want to do a shout out to the Wizard of Paws, our executive producer of the Pet Life Radio Network. Of course, I'm speaking of Mark Winter. He has made this so that our Pet Life Radio Network is the largest listened to pet radio network on the planet. And in this crazy time we live in right now, we need something like this. So I hope you invite your friends to tune into this show and the other shows in the network. And until next time, this is your flea-free host, Arden Moore, delivering just 2 words to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there. Oh, behave.
Coast to coast and around the world, it's Oh Behave with Arden Moore. Find out why cats and dogs do the things they do and get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get great tail-wagging pet tips and have a fur-flying fun time. All Behave with America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore. Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.